Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Metal Massacre Fab Shop. My name is Matt, and on today's episode we're going to be working on this old 66 parts truck that helped me finish my 64 C10 in there. Basically, this is just what I said, it's just a parts truck, so I need to get it back to the guy that I borrowed it from, and it'd be a lot nicer if this thing ran and drove, and it'd be a great video for you guys. Hopefully you enjoy it. Alrighty, we've got our battery here, so I'm going to go ahead and toss this thing in there and see what we got. Somebody's definitely redone these battery cables in the past, because I'm sure a 63 or 66 truck probably wasn't on a side post, but we will give it a shot here and see what we got. Alrighty, so everything's looking good. Looks like everything's still hooked up on this old truck, so let's see if we can't get this thing to crank over. Okay, so round two, nothing happened the first time, so I hit both of these with a wire brush. They were kind of corroded. Let's see if that makes a difference. Still nothing, so I'm going to try to kind of look around on some of this stuff and see if there's a connector or something like that missing. Okay, so I've cleaned everything up and everything looks to be pretty good coming from the battery down to the starter. So I'm just going to see if I can't just take my jump pack here. I've got it connected to ground and got the truck in neutral, obviously. I'm going to just try to jump these and see if we can't get this thing to spin over. Alrighty, so it looks like there's something in the wiring from here to the starter cylinder, or the actual key switch, so maybe there's something messed up in that. So maybe check into that. Alrighty, so I've got the ignition switch pulled. As you can see, it's pretty nasty up in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up and then also test this to make sure there's actually 12 volts getting to this point. If not, there's also a connection there on the firewall. I'll probably go clean on that a little bit too and see what we can see on that. Basically, we just need to get 12 volts from that battery up to here so it'll control everything. There's no dash lights, there's nothing once you have the key on. So yep, I need to get that all figured out and get 12 volts up here and get this thing where it'll crank from inside the cab. What I ended up doing was finding out that this power wire, which I don't know what I was even thinking anyway, I'm sure some of you guys already were thinking that a one power wire going to the starter is not going to control anything, but basically somebody has had this wire disconnected at some point from the factory cables, which I did say that it looked like they've been replaced. So it goes down here into this nice little wire nut here, runs around the front of the truck and into this like little junction box type thing, and then on back into the cab here. So after I connected all that back up, I did get a dash light, and let's go see if this thing will crank up. Alrighty, so it's turning over under its own power off the key switch and everything. Next step is I'm going to go ahead and remove this air filter housing here and see if we can't get some gas down this thing and get her going. Alrighty, so I have a little bit of 2-cycle gasoline here. Basically, from what I've seen on other YouTubers and people like that, on these old trucks when they sit, this 2-cycle oil just kind of helps prime everything up, as obviously it does have a little bit of oil in it. So I'm going to try to get a little bit down here so I can fill that float bowl up and see what we can do after that. That was like effortless, so I'm going to try to cycle that a couple more times here and see what we got going. That thing fired right up, so we might be moving on to seeing if it'll drive here before long. Also, I still have the fuel line pickup from the factory tank hooked up, so it might suck up some bad fuel in this thing. It's showing a full tank. I don't know if that's accurate or not, so we'll see. But let's give this thing another turn and see if it'll fire back up. gas here. Hunting around. I don't know if this old fuel pump's going to pick up anything or if there's anything to be picked up, so we'll see. I've got an old gas tank I can rig up over here, just take the place of the jump box, so if we have to do that, we will. Alrighty, so it's obviously not picking up any fuel, and I can't get around here quick enough to get to it, so I am going to do the rig up setup kind of like I was talking about, and we'll see if we can't get something figured out and get some gas going to this thing. Alrighty, so I have the little fuel jug here rigged up, so let's see if we can't get this thing to start sucking a little fuel. Alright, so it doesn't seem like it's picking up, which I know I didn't give it a very long time there, so we'll try it one more time, and then if that doesn't work, I may install a mechanical fuel pump or electric fuel pump in this thing, just to see if we can't get it driving around. Got my jump box over here. I'm just going to kind of use that to jump off this starter and everything, because I'm just one man out here, so that's my solution to that, I guess. See if we can get this thing turned over and see if we can't keep it running long enough to get some fuel sucked up from that fuel pump. So we're obviously not hooking up any fuel, so I'm saying that this fuel pump's probably shot, and I do not have one laying around, I don't think. I am going to pop this line off right here real quick and see if I cannot just maybe backfeed a little bit of gas in here and try to prime that pump down there. We'll see if that works. I think that fuel pump's shot on this thing because I've got fuel going straight down to it and it doesn't seem to be wanting to do anything at all. The other option is I do have another straight 6 that came out of my 64. I may look at that fuel pump real quick, and if it's not too big of a job, I may swap that thing out, because it would be cool as heck to have this thing cruising around the yard. So I went out there and looked at that other one, and it is clogged. You can tell it's just the inlet is pretty messed up. So what I did was went up on the shelf and grabbed this Holley electric fuel pump, which is a little too nice for this truck probably, but man, there's a hole right here and there's a hole right there. It's almost like it was meant to go right here. So that's the game plan. I'm gonna have that thing, and then it's gonna shoot up here and to the inlet side of the carburetor, and then I'll probably run something in here into a tank of some sort, and then that'll be our fuel setup. So I'm out here on my old engine and cross member and everything out of my 64 C10. Basically, I'm just going to be taking this line off here so I can cut it back and run our other fuel line in here, because I really don't want to cut the other truck up. I know that sounds silly, but it's a pretty good little truck. I may even talk Jerry into trying to sell that thing to me, and who knows what will come of it. But take this off real quick, because cut this back here, and that way we're not really interfering or messing with the other one. So, alrighty, so now that we've got this off of our old truck, we're gonna install it here. And then that's where we're gonna end up running our outlet from our fuel pump up to here, which is the hose. Now that I went and got my cigar cutter, I'm gonna kind of roughly eye this thing and make sure we got enough here, and then just bring it up here and give her a cut. That's almost guaranteed to leak. I need to find a good place to put this thing. I'd like to go inside the cab if possible. This right here looks like a pretty good spot. So we might go right there. I'm just gonna start feeding this thing through the firewall here, and we'll see where it ends up inside the truck. I'm not real sure where this even comes out at. It's going though, so. Oh yeah. That's gonna be great. Alrighty, so this thing made it right here, so that's probably gonna be a pretty good location, because I'm probably just gonna get that gas tank that we had up front there and put it inside this thing. Gonna go ahead and jump up front here, get that inlet side hooked up to the fuel pump, then we gotta wire that thing up still. Alrighty, so now that we've got this thing ran, we're gonna just come right here and basically follow it in here. Maybe get us a zip tie right there, but I'm gonna go under our power wire for our starter, and there it is. So I just have a hot wire going to the battery here from the hot side, obviously, and then I've got a red jumper for my ground going so I can unhook it. But let's kick this thing on and check for leaks. Alrighty, so everything's looking good. Sounds like it picked up some fuel. Let's see down in here what we got going on. So it looks like it's filled the bowl up, so let's see if we can't fire this thing up. Alrighty, so it sounds like we may be running past our float. So the needle and seat could be getting stuck on this thing. Alrighty, so I'm going to leave the fuel pump off this time, see if we can't get it to pop off one more time. Alrighty, gonna throw the jump back on this thing, as it sounds like that battery is starting to get a little weak. Alrighty, so it sounds like our jump pack is also dead. Gonna go ahead and charge that thing up, get this battery charged up, and we'll be back here in just a minute. Alright, give her a little gaze. Now that we've got it running, we're going to go ahead and try to get some of these wheels aired up, and I know that the front passenger side is stuck, so we'll probably go ahead and start working on that a little bit too, so we can get the thing freed up, because as you see in the clip, it's not wanting to move. So that's going to be our line of attack. We're going to get everything kind of back in order and get this thing sitting up on 4 fresh wheels. got this thing beat all the way off. All of the brake pads were stuck and rusted to the drum, as a lot of these older trucks are. But eventually, if we do end up doing anything with this truck, we'll probably end up going with drums or completely rebuilding this. So not really a big concern at this point. So Luke went to go grab something to bend this lip back up so the drum will run freely. I do highly recommend buying that puller, because unless you do that, you're going to be beating around like we did, which is kind of silly, and if you're ever going to reuse any of this, it's probably not the best practice. So we got the front wheel spinning freely now, so we're going to install our new to us aired up spare. Alrighty, so the old heater hose here is definitely not happy, and doesn't look like the lower one is either. So I think what we're going to do real quick is going to go ahead and cut it on either one of these and shorten those hoses. It's probably just got brittle over the years from just being on that connection, so that's the next step. Alrighty, so we've got the heater hoses. They are what we think is probably good enough for now. So the next thing we're going to do is probably take this thing a cruise down the road.
Right through suggesting. That's second. There it is. That's reverse. There's first gear. God bless. A little bit of moss on the window. I'll clean off.
That's it.
We're going to try this again. We're going to go back. Hey, that's reversing. There it is.
You don't need no brakes.
There's no way we're going to make up that second hump.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty much going to wrap this one up. We've got the old 66 running and driving, as you've seen. Leave in the comments below if you don't care what you do with this old truck. Is it too far gone, you think? Is it savable? Just give us any kind of ideas you want. So thanks for hanging in here and watching this one, and I'll see you guys on the next one.